Hello everyone, today is 27th of December, now it's about 11:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with this report from RT that Russia shut down the Ukrainian F-16 fighter jet. One of their F-16 jets donated to Ukraine by NATO has reportedly been intercepted while attempting to launch missiles at the Russia's Zaporozhye region. Preliminary information from the front line was reported on Thursday by Vladimir Rogov, the co-chair of Russia's Coordinating Council for the integration of the new regions. Russian Defense Ministry did not yet confirm information about intercepting F-16s, although I have no reason really to doubt this report. Most likely F-16 was intercepted, and if I remember correctly, this is first time when this Western US-made plane is intercepted in the air by Russian militaries. First F-16 that was down was intercepted as a result of friendly fire by Kiev regime's forces, at least that's what media reported about it. Then there was a report that a number of several F-16s were destroyed on the ground as a result of Russian long-range precise strikes, and now this report that F-16 was intercepted in air by Russian side. No specifics if this F-16 was intercepted as a result of air-to-air combat or if it was intercepted by Russian ground-based air defense systems. Probably we'll find out about soon. I hope this plane was intercepted by Russian fighter jet. That would be interesting, more interesting. And by the way, one of the Russian billionaires who promised earlier that he will pay significant reward for intercepting F-16s confirmed that he is standing on his words, and he will issue huge reward to militaries that were involved in this interception, being a pilot or pilots or crew of ground-based air defense systems. So interesting. Anyways, when it comes to long-range missile strikes, as Rogov reported, this F-16 that allegedly was intercepted was preparing to launch missiles to strike deep into Russian territory. And yesterday, some strange situation appeared, and I explain what I mean by this. Solovyov, by the way, this channel on Telegram, at one point reported that number of airports, and this is happening yesterday afternoon, that number of airports, including in Moscow, by the way, were halting their operations due to security reasons. And at the same time, we learned, a number of sources reported that air raid alerts were declared in number of regions of the Russian Federation. And then Solovyov Live reported that 12 planes, Kiev regime launched 12 planes to launch missile attacks deep into Russian territory. Later on, Solovyov reported, and Solovyov is one of the biggest channels, by the way, on Telegram. It has, as you can see, more than 1.3 million subscribers, and Solovyov himself is closely allied with the Russian high-ranking officials. He's from inner circle, one may argue, right? So he's well informed, and his team, I guess, right? So they reported about 12 planes that take off from Kiev controlled territory to conduct these strikes deep into Russia. And then we see this report about interception of one F-16. Also, Solovyov reported that initially they reported that two missiles were intercepted over the Kursk region by air defenses. Then they updated information and said that 3 missiles were intercepted over the Kursk region. And I was expecting follow-up reports on these developments, because if 12 planes take off, usually each plane of Kiev regime carries two cruise missiles, right? Two Storm Shadows, British Storm Shadows, or French Scalp EG cruise missiles. I don't know capabilities of F-16. Maybe F-16 can carry 3 missiles of such type, or 4. I don't know, but at least 2 they definitely are capable of carrying, right? And I was thinking, I mean, if 12 missiles take off, approximately that is 24 missiles, right? If 12 planes take off, that's 24 missiles potentially. 3 missiles were intercepted over the Kursk region. 1 plane was intercepted. So where other missiles went and what happened to other planes? I was expecting some follow-up reports on these developments, but nothing. Literally nothing, by the way. I was monitoring Russian segment of internet yesterday, all afternoon, all evening, this morning, nothing. No, not a single report about missile strikes deep into Russian territory, anywhere, right? So I don't know how to explain this situation. Maybe once this F-16 was intercepted, rest of the planes receive order to go back to their bases. That's definitely a possibility, isn't it? And maybe there was no launched additional launches from those planes. It is a possibility for sure. Maybe something else has happened. Maybe they launched missiles and we did not yet receive information about that. Also, theoretically speaking, also a possibility. But in any ways, I wanted to share with you this strange situation that occurred yesterday when, on one hand, we had a report about 12 planes being airborne by enemy forces. We received information that 1 plane of enemy was intercepted, 3 missiles were intercepted, and that's it. No additional follow-up reports about what had happened to another planes or missiles that those planes potentially was carrying, because I don't think those planes take off just for just to fly around, right? Too risky for that. Anyways, maybe we will learn some more about these developments, but I did pay attention to this topic, and I'm sharing my observation now with you. But what we learned from the defense ministry is that during the nighttime, Kyiv regime launched dozens of drones to strike deep into Russian territory, and we are receiving reports that 13 of these drones were intercepted. No details about any potential casualties or damage on the ground. If there will be any update on that, of course, I will report during the day on my Telegram or Twitter X or in the next updates. Also, these days, by the way, many officials here in Russia, like worldwide, are summarizing basically previous year. Big press conferences, big interviews are given, and Russia is no exception. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov had a conversation with Russian journalists and foreign journalists. He received many questions on many topics and answered those questions. And I will highlight just this particular news that Russia is ready to discuss Ukraine conflict with Trump, according to Lavrov. So Moscow is open to holding consultations with the administration of incoming US President-elect Donald Trump on resolving the Ukrainian conflict. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said, speaking at the end of the year online press conference with the national and international journalists on Thursday. Lavrov added that Russia hopes that Trump's team, including his special envoy for Ukraine and Russia Kat Kellogg, will get to the root cause of their conflict. Lavrov reiterated that Russian President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly expressed Moscow's openness to holding negotiations on how to resolve their hostilities and stressed that this commitment continues to hold true. He noted, however, that Russia would engage in talks only if they are meaningful and take into account the root causes of the conflict and the principles laid out by Russian president earlier this year. So it seems to me that, and I'm sharing this news, by the way, just to highlight that I really believe that Russian leadership is quite optimistic when it comes to negotiating process with the Trump's administration. I'm not that optimistic, by the way. Unfortunately, I think nothing in general will change in approaches of U.S. Towards Russia once Trump is in office. Exactly opposite may happen. Instead of the escalation, we might see next scale of escalation, and I'm afraid that's exactly what is going to happen. But one should always keep in mind that my judgment is based on information that are available in open sources, right? And Russian leadership has all the information that there is, classified and non-classified. So therefore, of course, their judgment should be, and most likely is much more advanced, right? So if they believe that they can have a meaningful talks with the Trump's administration, okay, let's give it a try. Let's give her peace a chance, if there is any such a chance, right? Even in theory, I might be skeptical of that, but how should I know, really? So it's only a couple of weeks now left, right? On 20th of January, Trump will be inaugurated, and we will see if any positive changes will happen in the relationships between US and Russia in regards to Ukrainian crisis. We'll find out. Meanwhile, by the way, Russian president is also actively engaged in different events. Day before yesterday, there was a informal summit of leaders of Commonwealth of Independent States. Yesterday, there was a summit of leaders of Eurasian Economical Union, and both organizations are created by former Soviet republics, right? And after yesterday's summit of Eurasian Economical Union, where Russian president made quite a number of interesting statements, he went to hold a press conference also, and he answered to some questions there. So plenty of interesting statements. I will focus on few of them, and one is this, that Putin supports Slovakia as a potential venue for Ukraine peace talks. So as I said, dear friends, it seems like Moscow is really optimistic about potential peace talks once Trump is in office. I don't know, man. I hope they are not wrong. I really hope they are not wrong, man, because I'm not that optimistic. Exactly the opposite. But anyways, let's go through this news. Russian President Vladimir Putin has endorsed Slovakia as a suitable location for potential future negotiations on resolving the Ukraine conflict. Speaking on Thursday at the press conference following the Eurasian Economical Union summit in St. Petersburg, the Russian leader confirmed that the EU nation was ready to host peace talks. The idea was reportedly floated during Putin's meeting with the Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico this week. Slovakia has consistently advocated a peaceful resolution to Ukrainian conflict, diverging from the EU nations by opposing the supply of arms to Kiev. It stance positions the country as a potential neutral mediator. According to Putin, we are not against it, the Russian leader said, noting that Slovakia takes a neutral position from our point of view, and that is an acceptable opinion, the acceptable position. So maybe, by the way, if some peace talks will take place on Ukrainian crisis, maybe these talks will take place in Bratislava or in some other city in Slovakia. Why not? Really? Let's hope there will be peace talks, by the way, first of all, right? No matter where, but why not hold these talks in Slovakia? After all, Roberto Fico and his government definitely demonstrated that they have high stands when it comes to, high principles and stands when it comes to when it comes to policies, their policies, and they clearly deserve respect, all the respect, as leadership of Hungary. They also demonstrating day in day out that they have principles and they are standing on their principles, no matter how difficult that is. Really, due to constant pressure from the Western ruling class, right, and Brussels bureaucracy. Meanwhile, by the way, TASS news agency is reporting that according to Defense Ministry, Russian armed forces established full control over the gigant settlement in a DPR. This is a southern side of southern flank of Kurachovo, I believe, and it is, by the way, this is Kurachovo, of course, which is one of the main hotspots on the battlefield right now, and this is gigant area, which is under Russian control. We also receiving information about progress of the Russian armed forces in Ukrainka settlement. According to some sources, this settlement is under full Russian control. Also, Gigant is on southern flank of Kurachovo. Ukrainka is on the northern flank of Kurachovo or southern flank of Pokrovsk. Anyways, let's continue with some more news. And for example, this one, that Ukraine cannot afford to demobilize its troops, according to local MP. So demobilization, the process of removing soldiers from the conflict front line, is out of the question. Ukrainian lawmaker Anna Skarahodr has stated they're citing significant challenges in fulfilling Kyiv's current campaign to draft new recruits to fight Russia. In an interview with their Novini live outlet on Wednesday, Skarahodr stressed that Kyiv is unable to initiate demobilization because, and then quote, we are failing at mobilization. So, frankly speaking, due to lack of manpower, Kyiv regime cannot afford to demobilize troops from the front line, troops that are on the line of contact for many months, in some cases even for years, and somehow manage to survive, right? Not surprising at all. And by the way, longer these troops will stay on the front line, of course, less battle capable they will be, more demoralized, and they're actually best decision they can make, Kyiv regime's troops, if they are from forcefully mobilized people, by the way. I'm not talking about Nazi formations. They should not expect any mercy from Russian troops, right? Nazis. But when it comes to forcefully mobilized people, they have to find out how to contact Russian sites. There are certain ways to do it. So they have to contact Russian troops or organize safe surrender, and that's what they're gonna do. That will be best decision of their lives, right? They have no obligation to fight and die for corrupt regime in Kyiv and for geopolitical agenda of the Western ruling class. It don't take genius to understand that they been all sacrificed for geopolitical agenda of the West. Let's continue, and the TASS news agency is reporting that Lukashenko is also in Russia, of course. He was participating in a summit of Commonwealth of Independent States and the Eurasian Economical Union. And of course, he was asked about, by journalists about many questions. He himself made quite a few statements, and I will focus on this one, that he wants at least a dozen of Oreshnik intermediate range hypersonic missile systems to be deployed into Belarus. Oreshnik is still making waves in the media, isn't it? Because demonstration was quite impressive. Let's be honest. We all see those videos, isn't it? Something like from Star Wars, right? So it is understandable that this topic of Oreshnik is still floating. And Lukashenko was asked about, and he said that he would like to see at least 10 Oreshnik missiles systems being deployed into Belarus. Right now, no one knows how many of these missile systems Russia has, right? Because this is a brand new system, and even though full-scale production is already started, this is a complex systems, right? And it takes quite a time to build these weapons, and I don't think Russia has more than a few dozen of these systems at this point. Maybe Russia has more, maybe not, who knows? But therefore, I think first of all, of course, Russian side will try to stockpile these weapons in minimal requirements, and then probably we will see deployment of rationing systems into Belarus, maybe, although who knows, we will find out. But it is good to know that this weapon system that is quite impressive one still makes headlines. Although, by the way, who knows, maybe, as I said, maybe Russia has enough these systems already so that it can deploy dozen of it into Belarus. Of course, political decision have to be made on that. This is not just a military matter, but also a political matter, because Russia still holds voluntarily to principles of number of treaties, including about deployment of intermediate missile systems in Europe, right? And therefore, without political decision, of course, Russian militaries cannot deploy into Belarus Oreshniks, right? So, we will find out. Interfax, meanwhile, is reporting that, Russian president spoke about gas transit through Ukraine also, and he said that now it is too late for a contract to be signed or prolonged between Moscow and Kiev, and therefore, from 31st of December 2024, there will be no more gas transit through Ukraine into Europe. And one may be surprised, but billions and billions of cubic meters of gas was transported through Russian gas was transported through Ukrainian gas pipeline network into Europe, right? And from 1st of January 2025, European customers that were receiving this Russian gas, of course, have to start looking for alternatives. Russia, as far as I understand, based on news that I read, Russia will try to support non-hostile European states, and Russia will try to provide them with their energy through other means. For example, Turk Stream can be used for that, or LNG deliveries, right? But when it comes to other countries that are hostile towards Russia, well, they will have no choice but to buy now 3 to 5 times more expensive LNG from US, right? Or maybe from Qatar. Although, by the way, nowadays relationships between EU and Qatar also are not really on friendly terms, to say the least. So therefore, I'm not quite sure the EU will be able to acquire more volumes of gas from Qatar. Qataris probably will prefer to sell their LNG in Asian markets, as US businesses do, by the way. Some people don't know that US gas companies, US energy companies are also preferring to sell their LNG into Asian market, because Asian economies are capable of paying more. And if you remember, recently Trump made quite strong warnings towards European economies, European states, that they should buy US gas and oil and pay good prices, right? So maybe EU capitals will have no option but to really buy US LNG in prices that will be significantly higher than Asian economies can, are paying now. It's a difficult story, but in any case, from 1st of January, of course, EU economies will feel the heat. Will feel the heat due to absence of really significant volumes of relatively cheap Russian pipeline gas. That's for sure. RT is reporting that, excuse me, NATO state probes Russian tanker over the mysterious cable incident. So authorities in Finland are investigating whether a Russian oil tanker had anything to do with the souring undersea electricity cable this week. The Financial Times has reported the incident was the latest in a series of cable breaks in the region. Finnish officials stopped the tanker, the Eagle S. They arrested the tanker, by the way, basically Russian tanker, Eagle S, after the East Link 2 electricity cable in the Gulf of Finland was cut on Wednesday. The British newspaper reported on Thursday. The East Link 2 delivers power from Finland to Estonia and has been operational since 2014. And so, dear friends, I don't know what your take is on all these cable break stories in the Baltics, but I think this is all fake news. I really think this is all false narrative that was created by the Western ruling class, Western elites, to be used then to harass Russian vessels. That's what is happening. I don't believe any cables were cut in Gulf of Finland or whatever, right? This is a fake story that is used now by Finnish authorities to harass Russian tanker. I'm quite convinced in that, and I hope Moscow will react strongly on these developments. Otherwise, I guess similar fake narratives will be used worldwide by Western ruling class, Western so-called elites, to harass Russian vessels, Russian commercial vessels, right? It is unfortunate that on this tanker there was no armed crew, or if there was, it is unfortunate that they didn't open fire and exterminate all their criminals that boarded the vessel and hijacked it, basically, on the orders of criminal regime in Helsinki, right? This is absolutely unacceptable, by the way. No one can touch Russian assets. No one should be able to touch Russian assets, man. I mean, things are getting out of hands, really, man. I mean, Western ruling class is escalating, and at one point, I don't know when that point will be or is, but at one point, I guess even extreme patience of Russian leadership will run out, and they will say, you know what, we've had enough of this nonsense, man. Let's act now. And I'm quite sure Western ruling class not gonna like what they will see then, right? This is a fake story, by the way. I don't believe any cables were cut in the Baltics, especially by Russian vessels, right? Because if Russia wants to do something, I mean, Russia has means to do it in a way that no one will ever find out what happened, right? So therefore, this is a false narrative that is basically is used now to harass Russian vessels. We are observing some sort of a trial of this new narrative in the Baltics, and if it works, then they will adopt similar narratives in other areas also, where Western ruling class can try at least and enforce something. Let's see how Moscow will react on this developing story. For now, I didn't see any statements from Russian side. Probably today, at least Maria Zakharova, official representative for Foreign Ministry, will comment on it. Let's see. Meanwhile, dear friends, let me notice, if I may, that this small media project is completely subscriber funded. Small media project with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, It's completely subscriber funded, and if you like my work, if you like my channels, if you think we deserve to be in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work and this project with small donations through PayPal or Boosty platform, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment, including crypto wallet address if you are good with crypto. That being said, let's continue with some more news. And we have this report that WHO chief stranded after Israeli strike in Yemen. World Health Organization chief Tedros Ghebreyesus has said he was just meters away when Israel struck an airport in Yemen's capital Sana'a on Thursday. Ghebreyesus and his team were unharmed through there were forces to delay their departure due to damage to the runway. A delegation led by WHO chief visited the war-torn country to negotiate the release of UN staffers, at least 17 of whom are believed to be held by the Houthi rebels, as well as assessing their health and humanitarian situation on their ground. According to Ghebreyesus, I'm butchering his surname, isn't it? Sana'a International Airport came under Israeli strikes when his team was about to board the plane. One of our plane's crew members were injured. At least 2 people were reported killed at the airport, he said in a statement. So Israel conducted a large-scale strike, by the way, on Yemen yesterday, including on airport. Videos are circulating of that strike, and I don't know if Israeli forces knew that delegation from WHO was in Sana'a at the moment, or maybe they did not know, or maybe they know and did not care really. But whatever the case, they almost exterminate the entire leadership of WHO, man. That would be, of course, a scandal. But at this point, does anybody think that Netanyahu and his associates care about anything at all? Of course they don't. They just simply don't. Interfax, as bullies don't care, by the way. Only, bullies can be stopped only by, you know how. Bullies don't understand any other language but, Interfax is reporting, but force, strong force. And unfortunately, world community is so weak that it cannot demonstrate no force. It cannot impose nothing on Israeli leadership, these psychopaths that are in charge of Israel, right? The world is unable to stop these genocidal maniacs that are in charge of Israel, by the way. Unfortunately, this is shame on humanity, man. But that's the times that, we are living in. Interfax, meanwhile, is reporting that Israeli avia company EIAI suspended its flights into Moscow due to, according to this avia company, they're going to assess risks, and only then they will resume flights if decision will be a positive one. And this decision is related to accident with Azerbaijani airlines plane that crashed in Aktau in Kazakhstan 2 days ago. And rumors are circulating that that plane was because that plane was in an area where Kiev regime's drones were active and air defense was working. Rumors are circulating now that maybe by accident that plane was brought down by air defense system. No official statements about that at this moment. It's just speculations on the part of different media outlets, different experts. But it is better to wait for an investigation, and we will find out, right? In any case, what is the 100% that Kiev regime, with its terrorist activity, definitely is endangering civilians all around Russia, at least in the European part of Russia for sure, and including air travelers. Because every other day, as you know from my reports, for example, different airports in different regions of the Russian Federation are introducing some emergency measures for security reasons and grounding planes. And this is due to terrorist activity of Kiev regime, right? Unfortunately, Western media, Western ruling class will say nothing about it. They will say nothing about terrorist activity of Kiev regime because they are in full support of those terrorists, Nazis and the fascists, right? So what they gonna say? RT is also reporting that Panama rejects Trump's canal control demand. Okay, Panama is striking back, or Panama strikes back. Okay, Panama. So Panama's president, Jose Raul Mulino, has rejected the US President-elect Donald Trump's threat to reclaim the control over the Panama Channel. Mulino described the waterway as an integral part of Panama's national heritage, stressing that its ownership is not up for negotiation. Okay, understandable statement, really. I mean, what you can say, right? But one should keep in mind, by the way, that there is a US still hegemon, by the way, in certain parts of this world, and failing empire, but still empire, by the way, with all its capabilities. And there is a tiny Panama, right, in between North and South America. And if forces that are behind the Trump are really serious about reestablishing control over the Panama Channel, they might even conduct an invasion of Panama, by the way. No, remember invasion of Grenada that US conducted some time ago? Not that long ago, really. Something similar might happen in Panama. Also, if forces that are behind the Trump are really that serious about reclaiming control over the Panama Channel or establishing control over the Greenland, by the way, for example. Trump is talking about Greenland also for quite a while. And what about Canada? What about Canada? Will we see US invasion of Canada? Of course, I'm joking, by the way. US not gonna invade Canada, but Trump is trolling Trudeau and Canada, big time, isn't it? By calling him Governor Trudeau and so on. I understand, dear friends. I mean, members of our community from Canada can confirm. I mean, they can share opinion about Trudeau. He is extremely unpopular in Canada, right? And Trump knows this, right? Trudeau and his government was devastation for Canada, as far as I understand. And so I don't think anybody has any issues with Trump trolling Trudeau. But when it comes to, there is much more behind these statements, isn't it? These statements are about control, right? And if US wants more leverage over Canada, more control, I don't think Ottawa can do much really to resist that. This is also their, objective reality, I guess. Let's continue with some more news. And Iran, by the way, Iran received a status of observer in Eurasian Economical Union, and this is a big deal, I believe, because who knows, in upcoming years, one day Iran may even join this organization too. right? Also, several other countries have a status of observer. For example, Cuba and Uzbekistan. And I believe Eurasian Economical Union has a a good future, but of course BRICS is overshadowing now all these small organizations, obviously, because BRICS is a foundational stone of emerging multipolar world, right? While other organizations, including Eurasian Economical Union, are, I mean, much smaller. What to be said about? But still, they are playing important role, and this role will further increase in the years to come, I guess. RIA Novosti is also to represent, basically, in this multipolar world, to better represent certain regions and their interests. Meanwhile, by the way, I guess many of you already seen this interesting footage that is circulating on internet about mystery plane that was spotted in China. According to some speculations, this is a sixth generation fighter jet. Sixth generation fighter jet that China is developing. I have some doubts about this plane being a fighter jet because it's just too big, man. It's just too massive. Maybe this is a bomber, stealth bomber or something. But in any case, quite impressive developments are happening in China. For many years, by the way, Chinese aerospace industry was basically copying Soviet and then Russian planes, right? We all know that. And now they're clearly creating fully domestically designed and built planes. Interesting. But yet again, I don't think this is a fighter jet, sixth-gen fighter jet. Most likely it's some sort of medium-range frontline bomber or something, right? Because it's just too huge. It might work as a platform for a long-range interceptor, right? But I mean, this plane is just too huge. It cannot dogfight. This design is not good for dogfights, right? Close range air-to-air combat. And therefore, I don't think it's a fighter jet. I think it's a bomber. But anyways, impressive developments on part of Chinese aerospace industry, by the way, no questions about that. Meanwhile, you're gonna laugh at this news, but Parliament in South Korea now impeached temporary president of Republic, prime minister. Is it some sort of a national sport event or something in South Korea to impeach just about everybody? So the Parliament of Republic of Korea has announced the impeachment of acting president of the country, Prime Minister Han Dok-soo. So, okay, by the way, I guess soon South Korean Parliament will have opportunity to impeach someone else that will replace this person. I don't know what is going on in South Korea, but I was thinking political system there is really stable and no much is happening there. But no, man. In reality, it's like boiling water. It's quite dynamic, and there are some crazy stuff is happening. So it's worth to follow political developments in South Korea, I guess. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting that unfortunately, due to emergencies with the Russian tankers in a Kerch Strait, situation now have been declared emergency of a federal scale. because of course this fuel that leaked from the tankers reached the shores of Russia's Black Sea coast. So fuel oil spill on the Black Sea coast will receive the status of a federal emergency, which means that additional personnel, additional equipment, or additional funds will be allocated to deal with the emergency. I reported in my second update on Patreon, I believe, day before yesterday, that was that 21,000 tons of contaminated soil was removed from the coastal line, and the process continues. Of course, it will take at least several months, I guess, before coastal line will be fully cleaned from this fuel that end up in the sea after disaster struck those tankers in the Kerch Strait. I remind you that 2 tankers that received damage and start leaking the oil were carrying 9,000 tons of mazout oil product. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting, and I will end this update on this news, that a share of dollar in world reserves is a minimum for last 3 decades. So according to International Monetary Fund, right now in world reserves, world currency reserves, level of dollar is stands on 57.4%, which is the lowest number in last 3 decades. Well, the dollarization process continues, by the way, and I don't think this process can be stopped now, right? And who to blame for that? Obviously, Western ruling class and their puppets in the governments of Western states, right? They start weaponizing currencies, dollar, euro, pound, and as a result, rest of the world is realizing that, you know what, these currencies are toxic now. You can no longer rely on them, because you might get sanctioned at any point and you might lose access to your own assets, right? And this is not some theoretical talk. This is a real talk, because the rest of the world sees what Western ruling class done with Russian assets, right? And so process of de-dollarization cannot be stopped. I don't think dollar will completely lose a position as a world reserve currency, but it will lose significantly. It will become one of the world reserve currencies, not the major one, that's for sure. But yet again, if anyone to be blamed for that is Western ruling class, Western so-called elites and the crazy policies. And this is it for now. Hopefully you will find this update informative, interesting, and useful. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. Let's fight the algorithm, dear friends. Or maybe we will manage to overcome algorithms barriers, and in that case, video will be shown in recommendations. If you can share information about my channel and share my videos with your friends, that will be of course helpful. And finally, if you like my work and want to support, all the links are on this video description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care.